Well, hello, welcome back to Haphazard Feather in the Wind, Have No Idea What I'm Doing Productions. I'm Lance Renard, your host for the evening, morning, afternoon. Hi, Truman. I think I already used that one once. I noticed in my first videos that I had really messed up a lot of stuff, in my opinion. And I know you probably thought, no, man, you were great on everything. You were just spot on. You were 100%, and I thank you for saying that. Really do. However, I did notice some errors, some grammatical errors. I can't pick up all those or we'd be here all day. But I'm going to go through some of these images once again and bring up, like for instance, that's not, I said that was a dragon head. It's not. I was just kidding around. It's not. It's a rock. And I also mentioned other things that were like, that is not an alligator without wings. I just wanted to let you know that, because the alligators actually don't have wings, and so I thought I'd just be clear about that. Anyone who thought that last shot was real is very astute, but it isn't. It's from the Game of Thrones. It's some kind of commemoration of what they did. And in this map, when I was talking about this, I said you couldn't see Russia, and it's down here in this area. You can see it, but when I'm making a podcast like this, the screen looks different, and I really can't make out the word right now at this moment. But when I watched it on a large screen on my Xfinity, I noticed you could see the word Russia, and I said, you can't see it. So I will make mistakes like this. I'm here to present ideas. I'm here to give you some alternate thought and to assist your curiosity, not to give you misinformation. But the funny thing is, when you look at the educational system we have and the people that are putting out information, quote unquote, highly researched information on the internet, I'm at least admitting that I am making a lot of mistakes. That's fine for me. But to present ideas that I've heard about, that I've researched, that I've been exposed to, like the Great Wall of China, I said the doors are on the north side. I've never been there. I heard, read, or otherwise perceived from information that I gathered that the doors are on the north side. I wouldn't mind going there and checking it out, seeing whether or not they bricked up old doors. I don't really know, but what else did I miss? That's not my pet in my backyard. I said it was. I apologize. And he is not actually looking at the genitalia of a bird. I wanted to make that clear. These guys were in World War I. These are our people heading off to war, thoroughly convinced that the Germans sunk the Lusitania because they hate us all and they want the world to die. And so we're going to go kill them all. Damn it. And it's not about money. It's not about cash at all. It's about, it's not like that crisis starting up the New World Order kind of a thing. That wasn't happening. And I'll very often add sarcasm to the information that I'm giving to kind of lighten the mood, because a lot of this stuff is kind of heavy, and you don't want to get too serious about everything and freak out and get all angry because the stable data of your universe has been shaken by all of this. Now, just consider it as a possibility and then look up into the sky. I mentioned that these people are family, I was their family photographer, but that's not true. Nicholas Romanoff, and I mentioned his family are the ones that took over in 1775. But that's not. His family was part of a large collective of people all around the world that had decided to do away with this whole Tartarian thing. I mentioned that I glazed over this shot. I was saying giants don't exist, but big people, really big people, yeah, they're just really big people. They're not giants. That's crazy. And then I was wondering I think we're all Tartarian. When you start looking at people and, the thing is, well, he's a different color than he is, and he should be shot, and these people should be saved, and because, you don't look the way I want you to look, so. Oops, I'm interjecting. Now let's get back to my mistakes. The Romanov dynasty, the takeover of the Tartarian area was a lot earlier than 1775, or the beginning of the takeover. The major end of the takeover was in 1775, and the end of the takeover was at the end of World War II. I still like this, and I still wonder how you get a dress that big. But maybe they had to destroy the machine to make Rhode Island. I don't know. But I will interject once again. A whole lot of this is an actor, in my humble opinion, throwing a stick for a dog because he was a dog lover and a vegetarian, and there's a lot of weird things that we have to consider. Or we don't have to. I mean, you don't have to consider anything. That's why it's easier to sit and watch a podcast than it is to try to put one together, because then you don't have to do all that work. Yeah, and I mentioned that statue once before, so I'm not going to bring that up anymore. I said this was made out of all dragon material because of the 900-mile dragon, and I'm not going to call that a mistake. It's a weird possibility. And who doesn't love the Buffalo Bill? I mean, you gotta really. I want these back, people. Let's do this again. Buffalo Bill. Are you kidding me? That's beautiful. Or if there were a duck on one duck bill, give me a break. I'm sure there are plenty of other great jokes. He freed all the women from whatever oppression. You don't want to be one of these guys. No, sir. You want to spread the bigotry and the separation and the difference between us so we can run out and shoot each other, and we're all living on this thing right here. Whoopee! Love that guy, Woodrow. His classes are just intense. Well, they're not. They're not in teepees or that kind of thing. So I didn't get into the actual details of this letter, and would prefer not to. I don't like reading other people's private mail, and I am sorry to have you from home. I'm sorry to have you from home. Dear Horace. Well, I hope that's a woman writing to a guy. It could be a guy writing to a guy. It's none of my business, but wouldn't we all like 20 or 30 of these in our pockets? And Chase? Chase? Chase. Kind of makes me think of a banking institution. I can't quite remember what the name of it is. Alrighty then. The Gandhi dollars. I apologize for not bringing up the Gandhi dollars, but they're pretty cool looking. And the people that print money aren't all the same people. So I have a collective, a small group of them. What else did I say? Okay, I didn't bring up the fact that extraterrestrial. First of all, this is not an actual photograph, in case you were, thinking it was. And I do like the windows in the eyeballs, so that adds that realism. And his expression, like, whoa. But extraterrestrial is something that needs to be considered, because that means, actually, technically, the word means more land. Extraterrestrial. More land. And so, anyway. Here we got, I missed the Captain Cook part down in the bottom. Captain Cook was an explorer, sailor, heck of a guy, really gave out a lot of great data. He was the Admiral Byrd of his time. And I'm not going to go into, if you know who Admiral Byrd is and all that, you just keep hunting around if you're not aware of the details, but I did want to bring up what I had missed, my mistakes. The track of Captain Cook in the Endeavour in these years, his track, and see the dots are different types of dots. And so you've got this track is for these years and this track. And one curiosity, and I can only, because of the screen blur or whatever I have when I'm making podcast, it says his track in the resolution or revolution. In the resolution in. So there I still have a confusion. It looks like resolution, but they might be pushing the ball earth as in revolution. I mean, obviously the map is a ball, 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 ball. And I didn't mention over here on the right side, I did say the coloration, the Tartarian coloration is something that you might want to pay attention to. Cuba, those islands over there, and then of course over on the right side, far right, you have Japan. And I said I wasn't going to go into that, but one important thing about Japan and the Tartarian area is that Japan was the last holdout. The last samurai. I think Tom Cruise was like one of the last holdouts of the Tartarians. However, I believe we're all Tartarians. I mean, if you want to get that way about it, we're humans, we're people. We're one unified pile of 2 legs, 2 eyes, a mouth. We're so the same, gang. We're not, you know, I want to go rip down your buildings because you've got, and it's not just about skin color, the political views, and, you know, Britain being on an island. You know, we gotta, this is our island, and now we're stuck on an island. Oh my God, I gotta start taking over other areas. And I did mention how Hitler paid for all this with his book sales. He didn't, I don't really think that. That was a joke. I believe somebody financed the guy, somebody with really deep, deep pockets. I mentioned this guy had no arms, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, in one mention, and yes, he did. He had little stumpy arms that were useless. That's cool. So this is another World War I photograph where they're totally convinced to go out and kill each other so they can give the land to this one guy. That's important that we give all of our stuff to that one person that owns all of it. And we don't need it. We need to live in our apartment buildings and pay our taxes. That's what we need to do. You best get to paying them taxes. I did mention also that this was a whatchamahoodle, and that is not a technical term. I know it sounds really complex and scientific, but no. And this is not the comedian actress that you think she is. I'm not going to go look her name up, but she is one funny gal, and I love her. I just have no idea who she is. This hat isn't really actually real, and I don't want these on my front door, only at Christmas. So that is still fake, and I could carve that out in a weekend. What else? What other little minor? And this is me on an average day, and I just wanted to exemplify the ideas of what else didn't I mention? I don't know what their Chinese New Year, but it does give me a poke of curiosity. Happy Chinese New Year, Morocco, and the location of Morocco. You know what? We should all do this. We should all celebrate each other's New Year's, and we should all each other's, you know, see the separation, the dividing. This is not the Roadrunner like I said it was. And I also sang the wrong songs for this Chinese New Year, and I apologize for not knowing their song. I'm a little embarrassed, a little humbled, a little shy. And this actress, oh man, I mean, it must be really difficult for her to have such a nice place in Hollywood and have to look at all these guys on break on a filming set. It's tough. It's tough, tough, tough world. But I wanted to bring up any other mistakes that I could recall and not get too sad about everything. So the Philippines, Abe, love you, buddy. And these are just some examples of why we fight our wars and kill each other, so we can have that stuff and try to end animal abuse. If you look at these dogs, in my opinion, if you know dogs, sure, they're panting, but they look happy. They look like I got something to do, and damn it, I love it. I love it. That's how dogs are. They're just, if they can serve, man, they're just happy. And she's like, I don't like to do this to my dogs, but my Buick ran out of gas, and I got to get around. And so it's these things that I missed. I apologize. This is Berlin in between World War I and II, and it's a beautiful setup. And I'm glad Hitler sold all those books so he could fix all that stuff up so nice. And I also misread a little thing on this huge snake here, the Titanoboa, whatever. And this guy would easily fit in its stomach. I didn't, and it probably couldn't vacuum things if it sucked really hard. I make jokes occasionally, and it hurts people's feelings. Now, if you want to send me your mailing address, if I did hurt your feelings, I'll send you a box of hankies or a roll of toilet paper, depending on which end. So this guy's got this little hat or little tuft. I think that's kind of cool. I'd like to see this thing running around out in the woods, or just running at me. That would be pretty cool. I don't want to show that ever again. This is another one of those, hey, this is fun. We're going to go do this. We're going to slaughter a bunch of people because we don't like them. And they're you really need to step up for people when they're being abused, I think, and I have done it all my life. Put myself in harm's way. There we are again on a beautiful scenery, absolutely flat, round earth. I almost said flat. Oh my God. Sorry, but I didn't want to say those words because I don't want anyone to. I'm running out of hankies, to be honest with you, and toilet paper. But the mistakes that I've made are far too vast and many to actually cover all of them. I apologize. I could say these are all the mistakes I've ever made in my life. Yeah, he paid for a lot of this. I'm glad his book sold so many copies that he could rebuild the infrastructure. I didn't talk about the propaganda that was set out to make Hitler look like a super nice guy. And I'm not saying that he wasn't a vicious monster. To take that job, to accept all the pay, to allow all those things to be done and appear like a god, know you're going to skate away at the end. That's, no, I don't think he's cool. Not at all. However, I believe he was an actor, and he was paid, period. He was given orders. Now, these separations that you see in this hypothetical view are curiosity for me, because I've noticed that even under the water, like in the bottom of the ocean, you'll have another layer of ocean water, quote unquote, and it'll be an obvious layer. It looks like a river in the water under the ocean. And with that salinity in that water, the amount of salt, apparently they can't even get any kind of machine through it. They can just look at it, notice, and maybe bump on it, have it look, it's obviously liquid. And they've done tests on it, because how else would they know the salinity of it? So separations in salinity is a curiosity, and this is an electromagnetic structure that we're looking at. And now that's a whaling ship we're looking at. So it's good to run out and destroy everything you see that's living. It's a good idea. And then we can eat it, we can turn it into lamps. And I grew up on a farm in Minnesota, and the mentality of the farmers out there was, if it moves, you shoot it. Yeah, that's how we were raised. And this is Berlin once again in 1931, between 31 and 35. And it's a pretty good looking place. Once again, Hitler fixed it up. He improved the economy. He didn't do anything. He was a puppet. But he shelled out the cash for it all. And he had all that cash because he was so rich. I don't know if you've ever done any research on the guy, but he was in jail, and he was scrambling, and he was an artist selling his own paintings. And, artists really make tons and tons of money. That's why we're all artists. And that's a Now, somebody showed up, they offered him a contract. And this guy, see, that was another thing I didn't bring up, was at the end, or when Germany got all the way up to Stalingrad, and then the Russians started pushing back. I like the terms I'm using, but really don't like the terms I'm using. When the Russians started pushing back in World War II, after Hitler got to Stalingrad, the Russians were slaughtering them all the way back. I mean, if you look at the numbers, you'll find that Japan and Russia did a whole lot of slaughter, and Russia killed more people. But my curiosity is, why on the way back did they keep slaughtering people? And once I saw the Tartarian details, you know, I'm glad Hitler could pay for all this with his book sales before World War II ever started. Yeah, so why did the Russians slaughter everyone on the way back? You know, you don't think there was an agenda there? You don't think people were all getting paid? And you go, well, yeah, well, Russia just wanted all their land. You know, you're going to just take all the land. Yeah, go ahead and think that. That's fine. Or that last image that I had shown with the divisions. But no, the agenda was to wipe out a certain type of people. And on the way back, this guy here slaughtered and raped all those poor people. And you go, you know, well, that sounds logical. That should be done. No, they should have been out getting these guys, and that was their objective. But they were getting, you know, poor little women and children and people that were unable to defend themselves at all. And that's both sides doing that to one people. You know, that's another thing that made me wonder, WTF, who's paying these people to wipe out? And it's not just the civilization itself, it's the land also, but it's also the technology and memories of people with alternate technologies that could give us all a lot of free stuff that we got to pay for now. Yeah, we're going to pay for it. You got to get into the slavery debt system or you're not one of us. And we are all one of us. Us, all of us. All of us are us. I brought up the Vlad the Impaler being Dracula, and you know, that's just what I'm told. That's what I've heard, and you know, he looks like a pretty easygoing guy. He's probably not a blood drinker. But now the one on the bottom, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, he probably is a baby drinker. You know, quit drinking those babies. Oh, for crying out loud. So I apologize for putting that image into your mind. We'll take it out with more mistakes that I had incurred during my short career in broadcasting. Well, there's Russia right there. Obviously, there's Russia taking up the entire half an inch of this map. But not today. Not today. No, sir. And I also noticed I said Geanirm. I never did put it together to say Germania. I never said that. Right? So I wanted to correct that important mistake. And also the Omgia that I had said. Well, that could be Siamgia, Kiamgia. The way they break their maps up, you see this confusing, where this word continues over here because there's a mountain range in the way. Where this word has a P there, and then an inlet, and then an R, and then a river, and then an ovia. I mean, all right, I'm not going to complain about it, but I noticed also I had said this is the Germanic Ocean. And that's only because that's what it says. So that's, just wanted to mention then. Finicus Sinvis was the ocean of Finland. I didn't mention that. So, I mean, I missed a lot of things. I'm going to go ahead and vaguely, shallowly say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We all need a bunch of these because we all love this, and this is something I honor every morning. I get up and pray to my dollar bills. So now I'm being facetious. I apologize for that. And I did mention the Pledge of Allegiance, but I didn't say it, so I apologize for not doing that. What other mistakes did I? Blatant, open, baffling, bubbling, babbling errors. I'm not kind of searching here. And, oh, yeah, right. These guys, I said I was their family photographer. I've already corrected that mistake. But Nicholas Romanoff and his family that took over, they put out a really nice country album. And if you want to check out their music, so the books, let's see, I said something about her having these printed before she had her reader glasses, and that's probably not true. I'm wondering where you get the printer, the bindery to make these, bind all these books, and the difficulty it would be to put a bindery together that large to make these books. It would be a lot of time-consuming effort just to make a fake thing. What else did I miss? I think that's pretty much every mistake I've ever made in my life. I mentioned, of course, this actor had a script in his hand. Now that could be a bus schedule. See, I'm way off, but I know that is definitely a dog, and this is definitely an actor that we all think is Mr. You know, I'm not saying he was a nice guy, and he is, all right, I said he was faking the smile. Look at that. Now, see, that was not a mistake. He's just faking it. Oh, poor guy. Poor guy. Yeah. Well, he took the script. He's probably thinking of what he's supposed to say. You know, he's scripted like the actor that he is. And, you know, the powers that be are the ones that print the money. Give him any name you want. And this guy is probably so over turnips. I would be, unless he's making good money selling them. You know, money, 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 money. I gave credit. Now I said that this didn't exist. Well, I think the only thing that doesn't exist here is his two front teeth. And he probably didn't want them for Christmas. I'm not sure if Christmas existed back when that huge Tartarian was alive. What else? I would have liked to have seen somebody sitting on this guy's leg or a dollar bill on his mustache or something, get an idea of the size relation of this petrified, mineralized, and calcified biological creature. It's tested and proven, but it's none of my business, but I will. And I said aliens came from here, over here. Now, I didn't really, I was kidding. And if you look at the land masses, no, that's not this. No, this isn't my idea of a reality time, but it could be if I wanted it to be. And I said these things look like scales. It's a Google Earth image, and they do. So have a nice day with that. And this writing on this coin gives me pause to wonder. I'm done pausing. I mentioned that I liked this guy's glasses, and, you know, I'm going to stand by that. I'm going to stand. Who's with me? Who's with me? And we fought all of our wars, every single one of them. Don't be fooled with all of their propaganda crap. Oh, like, it broke down our building and all. This is, I didn't mention that this is an extremely old map that was found in a temple in Japan. It came up in a newspaper in the 20s in Hawaii, in a Hawaiian newspaper. And it shows our land masses and a whole bunch of other ones. I mean, a whole bunch. If this were true, each one of us, every person on the earth, could have pretty much a pretty big chunk of land, like size of, you know, I can't get real, maybe Texas. Each one of us, and have plenty of land left over. So it's kind of curious why they want to keep us in this one little spot. And convince us over and over that we're trapped here and we can't get out of it because you can't go out past that spot over there and extraterrestrial, extra Earth. And that's where, you know, the hypothesis is that's where these different looking things come from. It's not real. It's not a real photograph, but I could joke around about it. That's a real photograph of I didn't actually get into the sonoluminescence area of my blah, 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 is the number of vibrations, pulsations, radiations that come out of these are pretty close matches, if not exact matches, to what we see in the sky. And we can make them here now, called sonoluminescence. I love that stuff. Really into it. It's all over my room. I said you could drink a tall glass of space as a theoretical issue, in that outside of our force field, Van Allen belts, it's water. And that's a theoretical statement. So if that were true, then you could drink space. Kind of a neat thought. What else did I say? Said this was their laundry area over here. Now, I can't be sure about that. They might have just stored dragon eggs there. And I'm wondering, it does make kind of a graveyard? I don't know. But it looks like the laundromat. But I'm probably wrong about that. Just wanted to correct that mistake. And these, looks like a little town gathering going on. So, right, if it doesn't look right, it's not right. I got news for you. And if it does, it is. So it's not up to me to show you and tell you everything. We all love the lizards, Komodo dragons. I'm not going to go back there. But I am going to run through the rest of these. And I mentioned, now this, when I was talking Civil War soldiers and saying they knocked this out, they didn't knock this one out specifically. They had some other beautiful ones that you just saw that were in error. In Casablanca, I should have mentioned Casablanca. Play it again, Sam. And I didn't do that, and it's kind of sad. Otherwise, I think I covered all of the details in the universe. I said this was a rock. Okay, well, when things petrify, calcify, and mineralize, it becomes a rock. And I only said this guy was a squatter because he's squatting. I'm wrong about these. He's not a squatter just because he's squatting. But he is a digger. And so that's keeping things real, straight, and that is in Minneapolis. And it is nice to look at something cute and go, oh, what a relief. And I am powerful. People like me. And that's pretty much, I think that's not Bilbo's house. I said that was Bilbo's house, but it isn't. I checked on it. And I couldn't get anyone to do that carving. But I'm still looking. Just told you I'd check up on that. This I didn't want to get into because of the death of I don't like to do overly negative stuff. I like positive stuff like this. Positivity. Let's go kill them. I mentioned all these people are dead, and that still remains as a statement that I might be corrected on. One of them might come up and go, hey, I'm still here. All these people are gone. That's a relief. And what other mistakes did I make aside from getting up this morning? I said this is, a lot of people believe this is the reason for their world war, and I said now the agenda is about wiping out the last of the Tartarian. So I wanted to make sure that that wasn't misunderstood. Aside from that, this has been just an extremely fun video to make, and I like picking myself apart. I'll probably notice, now I said he didn't have anything to do with it. No, actually he did have a lot to do with it. They had the, Enigma machine. God, that's a good one. And that's how they knew all the orders ahead of time. It's not that they wrote the orders ahead of time and then handed them to the Germans and said, well, the only reason we knew about it was because we had this machine, see? And that's how we knew. Yeah, that's how we knew. We didn't write the orders down or agree on them ahead of time. No sirree, Bob. Just like these guys aren't shills. Yeah, okay. And there are certain points I made that I'm overly emphasizing. Never got into the astrological signs and how that affected the Civil War. I'm kidding. Didn't, well, probably did. A lot of leaders look to the signs And so I do think I covered every single mistake I've ever made in my life, aside from not standing up and doing this right away and forcing everyone to do it with me. And if you don't do it the right way, I think you need to go to jail. I do. I think you need to be incarcerated. I didn't mention the fact that this guy on the right, next to Woodrow Wilson, he looks like he just got his ass handed to him. And Wilson looks like an angry employer who was dissatisfied with the job the employee did. That's what he looks like. That's my take on it. Now, I don't say that this guy's an alien or he's taking orders from aliens, or I would never do that. Extraterrestrial is the word. Oh, man. That's the buy one, get one free sale at Sears right there. So I just want to make sure that I overly emphasize the fact that this Wilson is just the best president in the world. Or, I don't know. That's maybe possibly debatable because I am kidding on that statement. It's not like I'm taking it out on any individual because the person responsible, as I mentioned in the past, doesn't have a face, not going to have a face, and he is not going to let you know who he or she is, or they, or whatever. So I didn't cover the mudflood effect enough. I apologize. I'll have to get more deeply into it. But Martin Leedkey, big shout out to Flat Earth British. He, guys, really does his job and really gets into it and really smokes a lot of weed. But he's good. He's good. Barnabas Nagy is also one heck of a guy, and I really like his stuff. The way he writes his own theme songs, and then there's Brian Lambert 33. I believe that's the name of that one, and he is quite a great producer. He and his girlfriend Maya. I didn't mention another mistake I made was the Federal Reserve Act regulating the money in circulation at the term of Mr. Wilson. President Wilson, and then the start of the Depression right after he left. Now, I did mention why depressions occur, because they just quit giving you money to work with, and then everyone runs out, but the timing of depressions is something you also, maybe I should make a podcast on that. That'd be a mind boggler. A lot of research. Star in a jar, once again, check the vibrations, oscillations, and against the real ones. It's interesting how you can sit underneath these domes and it looks so cool, so amazing, so real. I like it. I said these were dragons without wings. I was kidding about that, just clarify the details. Not that they couldn't be. I know that. And I said that was a Brontosaurus Rex. I was kidding around about that. There's several different names for these big, long, bad boys that could never have possibly stood up. But what other severe and lacking errors, blatant, glaring stupidity did I? Oh, I said this was a ball. Okay, but maybe it's flat. I don't know. It's hard to tell if it's flat or not. You know, that's just me. But get that way. I said these guys were all out slaughtering Tartarians, and if you're killing anybody, you're slaughtering Tartarians, because we're all, in my opinion, a bunch of Tartars. We were just convinced that, you're French, you're Russian, you're Japanese, because you look different, you talk different, you got them funny looking this and that. And this is where I'd left off on the video, that I got a phone call right toward the end from Carol. And I said this guy had a duck call in his mouth. Well, see, that's just not a duck call. I was kidding. And said they were possibly killing ducks with a chemical weapon. And it's possible, I suppose, but no, that's probably not. It could be a chemical weapon if you look at that belt chain there. It's kind of strange looking belt chain, but maybe you're coming from the backside. Actually, that's a backside of the belt chain, so that does make sense. And they were not probably doing this on Halloween. I mentioned that as a possibility, but I just wanted to be clear. At that point, I was going to mention that Russia started coming the other way from Stalingrad. And I often say this never happened. These guys are just faking it. I often say that kind of stuff because I can't handle the reality of walking up to a guy that big. Just can't do it. And looking up, oh man, he better have some shorts on. That's all I'm saying. But when Russia came back the other direction, I've already mentioned that, it was slaughter time. And that made me curious. What they should have done to keep it quiet was to just go get the Germans, but they didn't. They got everybody. And there was a little leftover ammunition, just a couple. I'm not going to get into the devastation all that would have caused. This is a curious and interesting photograph I kind of glazed by in one of my videos, past videos, and it's got the sun and the moon, moon, and the central area. My curiosity about this is the magnet in the middle, or is it a diametric pile of magnets that are, expanding outward more and more this direction? Is there only one north center? And if this were the case, and then you've got an ice layer, another ice layer, another ice layer, and you get different sun and moon on the outside, and then two suns on the very, very outside, and two moons on the very, very, and you've got old moons and old suns, and it's kind of an interesting concept of details, probably more like what I would, when you consider the ocean is flat. Our oceans are flat; they're not rounded. Believe what you want. I'm not going to try to overly convince anybody of any particular thing. And I said I probably would put a 350 V8 in this, and then I said 444 barrel. But I think the tires, I'd have to put on some new tires. I do like these as spinners, though, and it would make a really nice hot rod. So with that being said, I think I've covered pretty much everything. Every mistake I've ever made, I feel so much more like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders. So thank you for taking the time to let me apologize to you for all of the terrible mistakes I've made in the past. I'll try never to do any of them again. As long as we both shall live, I do. You may now be seated. So, have a great day, and I look forward to babbling at you soon.